Ari Aster's Midsommar shows us one of the most well-constructed cults I've seen on film. It's not just the mix of Swedish folklore and Norse mythology that makes this work. It's that it depicts how a vulnerable but rational person can be dragged into a cult, even past the point of murder. How a community that doles out empathy almost like a drug can take the downtrodden and give them a new life in their community. I'm going to highlight a few key scenes and actions that real-world cults use in order to recruit people. This is done mostly through structure, proper targeting, isolation, and empathy bombing. I'm Tony Southcotte from Human Echoes, and here we go. The people of Harga have created a world in which to isolate themselves from the modern trappings of life. They follow the edicts of their traditions and live richly together, until about 72 years old. Then things sort of go off a cliff. For someone such as Danny, who is basically in free fall, the structure of a cult would be enticing. The death of her family has her spinning wildly out of control. In Harga, everyone has a place, everything is ordered, and people seem joyful. It's a far cry from the unempathetic structure that Christian can give her, and certainly stronger than what her family is capable of giving. Proper targeting is crucial for cults. The Manson family would send out people, usually not Manson himself because he was a little bit weird, to find young solitary people and make them come back to the ranch. After using a mix of charisma, psychedelic drugs, and sexual adventures, many found themselves staying on the ranch of their own volition. Scientology works in a less sticky way, in that they promise to unlock people's potential. Using a prop e-meter and what they call auditing on the right person, the victim starts going down the path. Once a person is marked by the group, the recruitment turns to fully bringing them into the fold. Danny is a perfect mark for this, or basically any other spiritual group. A young woman uncertain about the rest of her life, studying a psych major to try to understand herself and to cope with her own issues, and no family structure to speak of. More than that, the grief and pain she feels from the loss of her family amplifies her need and desire for a real connection. She is entirely vulnerable. Although Pele never openly says it, the film shows that he has been targeting Danny for a while. He's the only one with any sort of excitement about Danny going, and he does feel a kinship with her considering his parents had perished as well. Using this common ground and enthusiasm, he starts to bring her into ceremonies. She's not an outsider in Harga like the others. This is highlighted by her clothing. In America, and through most of the film, she wears baggy clothes. When she starts to join the cult, the clothes are made specially for her. The fit is perfect, and it's a metaphor for her fitting in. He makes her feel welcome and far from the burden she feels under Christian. Once he has her on the commune, it's only a matter of time before he gets her to split from Christian, which is using manipulation for isolation. One of the more unexpectedly intense moments of the film is when Danny is weeping and in pain, and instead of just holding her or trying to comfort her with normal means, the group dives on her, feeling the emotions with her. It's a jarring mass empathy, where her pain isn't demeaned or belittled, it isn't ignored, it's given proper attention and she is able to cope. It's a stark contrast compared to the sort of uncaring and apathetic comfort that Christian and the others provide for her. In cults, this is called love bombing, a coin termed by the Moonies, or the Unification Church. This is when a vulnerable person is targeted and given massive amounts of validation, affection, attention, and flattery. Even if this isn't used as an intentional manipulation tactic and the women in the scene are sincere, it is working to sink Danny deeper into her new family. The next tactic involves isolation. In cults like Jonestown and Guyana, it is literal isolation in a remote place. The Branch Davidians in Waco also did a fair amount of this by keeping people in their compound. Cults like NXIVM will take people to the retreats on the weekends and slowly get them to eliminate sources of media and keep people forced on this track of self-isolation, even from their families. Scientology actually uses a bit of both, where they have some camps, like the one supposedly David Viscavich's wife is at, as well as isolation through the removal of suppressive people and media. There are a lot of different reasons for these camps for the Scientologists, but one of them is a sort of labor camp, and the other is to get people to shut up. Perhaps the more extreme one is the Sea Org, in which you sign a 1 billion year contract. For the Harga, it's deep in the woods in Sweden, far from anyone that can give a reality check to these people and most importantly to Danny. More important than this, Danny has become complicit in several murders, which makes her more dependent on Harga for her protection. In the months that come after the film, there surely must be an investigation into a group of missing Americans. I believe that the community would work as hard as they could to protect Danny from these people, by either hiding her or everyone collectively denying the allegations and kind of letting her fold into the background. Danny is now trapped with these people, even if it was voluntary. This leads into the next cult tactic, which is keeping control. Because she chose to have Christian killed, they already have a massive amount of leverage over Danny. More than that, she doesn't have a family or anyone back home to run away to or to check on her or to find resources to get her out. She has no support structure. Even if she did, the people of Harga would likely be willing to do anything to protect their way of life and their secrets, We've already seen how far they're willing to go. In the coming years, she is faced with either full assimilation into a cult that pulled her back from the brink, or probable death. They can claim as much as they want that it was just for sacrificial reasons, but that doesn't change the fact that they gave the good old blood eagle to a young man for threatening to leave. This control can take so many different forms. In real cults like Scientology, they gather information and dirt on the members, so if they leave, they have a bunch of information that they can smear the person with. NXIVM would force the women to write down all of their secrets as a trust exercise. Sometimes they would also have them make fake secrets so it could ruin the reputation of other people. Other cults seem to be able to make certain members vanish without a trace. Control becomes the greatest factor in any cult. Even if people believe that it's voluntary at the time, they are being coerced into a situation that there is no easy escape from. Although Midsommar is ostensibly a breakup movie, it really is one of the more accurate views on cult behavior. It's a genre that I adore because of my morbid fascination with the real thing. What other ways do you believe that the cult was aiming to control Danny? What are some of your favorite cult movies? Please let me know in the comments below. Hit that sub button if you enjoyed this. If you have some movies that you'd like me to take a deep dive on, also put those in the comments. Thank you all for watching, have a great week.